The first punch never landed, but it changed everything. In a crowded restaurant filled with clinking glasses and quiet laughter, danger moved fast and silent, slipping between ordinary moments like a blade in the dark. 1 second, it was just another evening. The next, a single father stood up from his booth, heart racing, instincts screaming, knowing without a doubt that if he didn't act right now, someone's life would be forever altered. He had promised himself long ago that he would never bring violence into his child's world again. But some promises bend when humanity is on the line. Before the story goes any further, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in ordinary people doing extraordinary things when it matters most, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this only matter if they're heard. The man's name was Ethan Hale, though most people in that restaurant would never remember it. To them, he was just another tired-looking dad with lines on his face that spoke of sleepless nights and responsibility. He wore a plain jacket, nothing that hinted at strength or danger. Across from him sat his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, coloring quietly on a paper placemat, her small tongue poking out in concentration. This was their weekly ritual, one simple dinner out where Ethan tried to make the world feel normal again after years of chaos. Ethan's life had been carved into 2 parts, before and after. Before was discipline, salt water, long nights on steel decks, and a uniform that demanded everything from him. After was loss, grief, and learning how to braid hair with hands that once handled weapons. He was Navy once. Special operations. But that chapter was closed. Sealed away after his wife's death and his promise to raise Lily in peace. He worked construction now. He kept his head down. He avoided conflict. Or at least he tried. Across the restaurant, 2 men had been drinking longer than they should have. Their laughter was sharp, invasive, the kind that made people uncomfortable without knowing why. When the woman walked past their table carrying nothing but confidence and a quiet smile, their attention snapped to her like predators sensing weakness. She sat alone in a nearby booth, scrolling through her phone, unaware that she had become the center of something ugly. It started small. A comment tossed into the air, a laugh too loud. The woman stiffened, her shoulders drawing inward, but she didn't react. She had learned, like many do, that sometimes ignoring danger feels safer than acknowledging it. But the men didn't stop. They stood up, blocking the aisle, crowding her space. Their voices dropped, their bodies leaned in. What they said didn't need to be heard to be understood. Fear has a language of its own. Ethan noticed before anyone else did. Not because he was looking for trouble, but because once, long ago, he was trained to read rooms, to feel shifts in the air, to sense when seconds mattered. His hand tightened around his water glass. His eyes flicked to Lily, then back to the woman. He saw the panic flicker in her eyes, the subtle way her foot slid back under the table, the way her hands trembled just slightly. He told himself it wasn't his problem. He told himself he had a daughter to protect. He told himself that stepping in could make things worse. His heart pounded as those thoughts battled with something deeper, older, louder. He remembered another promise, one he made long before Lily was born, one that said, "You never walk away from someone who can't defend themselves." The first shove came fast. One of the men reached out, grabbing the edge of the woman's table, trapping her in the booth. A glass tipped over and shattered, the sound slicing through the restaurant. People turned, chairs scraped. Someone gasped. Still, no one moved. Ethan stood. He didn't shout. He didn't posture. He simply stepped between the woman and the men, his body calm, his voice steady, his presence undeniable. 15 seconds. That was all it took. 15 seconds from the moment he stood to the moment everything spiraled out of control. One of the attackers laughed, a short, ugly sound, and shoved Ethan's shoulder. To him, Ethan looked like an easy obstacle, a dad past his prime, a man playing hero. What he didn't see were the thousands of hours of training etched into muscle memory, the restraint forged from experience, the discipline that taught Ethan exactly how much force was necessary and no more. When the second shove came, Ethan moved. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't dramatic. It was efficient. In a blur of controlled motion, he redirected the attacker's weight, unbalanced him, and put him on the floor hard enough to knock the wind from his lungs. The second man swung wildly, anger replacing confidence, and Ethan stepped inside the punch, neutralizing it with terrifying precision. Plates crashed, people screamed. Lily's voice cut through it all, calling for her dad. That sound anchored him. Ethan ended it as fast as it began. Both men were restrained, pinned, unable to understand how a quiet dinner had turned into their worst mistake. Someone called the police. Someone else called for a manager. The woman sat frozen, shock etched into her face, tears silently spilling as adrenaline drained away. The restaurant was silent now, the kind of silence that follows chaos, heavy and unreal. Ethan released the men the moment he heard sirens in the distance, stepping back with his hands visible, breathing hard. His jacket had ridden up, and there, unmistakable to anyone who knew what to look for, was the faded Navy trident inked into his side. The truth spread in whispers. Navy, Special Forces. The words carried weight, not as a threat, but as an explanation. This wasn't violence for ego, this was protection, this was training answering a call. When the police arrived, witnesses spoke quickly, urgently, phones were out, videos had been recorded, the story was clear, the men were arrested, the woman was safe. Ethan knelt beside Lily, checking her over, apologizing softly for the fear in her eyes. She hugged him tight, trusting him completely, even after seeing a side of him he hoped she would never have to. Later, long after the restaurant had emptied and statements were taken, the woman approached him. She didn't say much. She didn't need to. Gratitude filled the space between them, heavy and sincere. She thanked Lily, too, for sharing her dad with a stranger when it mattered most. That night, after Lily fell asleep with the TV humming softly in the background, Ethan sat alone at the kitchen table. His hands trembled now that the danger had passed. Memories he kept buried stirred. The Navy never really leaves you, neither does responsibility. He wondered if he had failed by letting his daughter see violence, or if he had succeeded by showing her what courage looked like. News of the incident spread online, framed as heroism, as bravery, as proof that good people still exist. But Ethan didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired. He felt human. He felt grateful that the outcome was mercy instead of tragedy. If this story is touching something inside you right now, if it's reminding you that one decision can change everything, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and leave a comment. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who need them in the days that followed Ethan returned to work, to school drop-offs, to ordinary life. But something had shifted. He noticed people paying more attention to each other. He noticed himself standing a little taller, not from pride but from acceptance. He could not erase his past. He could only choose how to use it. Just before we end, we have a special request. Please comment below with the words, "I choose courage," if you believe that stepping in for others, even when it's hard, is always worth it. Because sometimes the world doesn't need superheroes. Sometimes it just needs a single dad, a quiet promise, and 15 seconds of bravery that remind us all who we can be.